Hey everybody, NecroVMX here. Welcome to my channel, and you are listening to Potato Cast. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot to talk about this week. I do have one topic that I do want to talk about, but the first thing I want to get to is, god damn it, always when I start recording, I'll be sitting here for like an hour, doesn't make a noise. As soon as I start recording, bloop bloop, whatever. I want to get to your questions and comments from last week's, where I mostly talked about E3. So let's see. Starting with Silver Music Box. Dishonored 2 looks amazing. Can't wait for that, since the first was a surprise for me. The Horizon games looks pretty interesting as well. And how could I forget about fucking Zelda? I heard some of the people that work on Xenoblade are helping out with that game. That actually doesn't surprise me, considering I do see some parallels there in at least the presentation between Xenoblade and Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It really looks like, I mean, obviously, I made the comparisons to Don't Starve, and I made the comparisons to Far Cry, Far Cry Primal. But yeah, a little bit of Xenoblade, a little bit of Skyrim. Looks like a lot of different influences on this particular Zelda. And while Sony may have been the rock stars of E3, it definitely looks to me like Nintendo had the biggest game. I mean, Zelda was the hot game that everybody absolutely had to play. El Rey Oscuro says, "Hey Necro, you don't say anything about Injustice 2 trailer. It looked very good, but what is your opinion?" Sorry for my English, I'm from Spain. I had to tell you, I did talk about Injustice 2, or at least I thought I did. I mentioned that it is a game that I'm very much looking forward to, and I will probably be getting for PlayStation 4. I'm planning on getting a PlayStation 4 sometime later this year. Sorry. And, yeah, it looks great. Injustice, I originally played that on Xbox 360, but then I got the PC version, which was better. And normally I would say, well, I'd go for the PC version, but they have not, as of yet, announced a PC version of Injustice 2, and after the debacle of the PC launch of Mortal Kombat X, and the fact that it was basically essentially discontinued support after a while, I don't really trust NetherRealm Studios, or actually, that's not accurate. I don't really trust Warner Brothers Games for good PC ports. Kind of the same thing went down with Batman Arkham Knight, so I am very much looking forward to Injustice 2. Dyslexic Gamer says, "For me, it was a couple of games. Mass Effect Andromeda, but the trailer was way too short and showed way too little. And I'm going to have to wait until November 7th to learn more, sadly." I'm sorry my voice is not completely up to par, guys. I did just get over being sick. Gears of War 4. The trailer wasn't that exciting, but it showed off some gameplay. Resident Evil 7, it went back to... I know what. I'm asking what games you're excited about. All right, let me cut past all the bullshit here. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. One complaint... Okay, so he's complaining about Resident Evil 7. Dead Rising 4, I have to get 3. I mean, you're just listing games at this point. All right, let me try to read through this comment. Gears of War 4, the trailer wasn't that exciting, but it showed off some gameplay. Resident Evil 7, it went back to horror, but I didn't like the new action-oriented Resident Evil 4 being a three-way tie as my favorite game of all time. They could have made 1,000 games just like 4 with the same slow pacing and gameplay, and I would have bought them all and loved them. But I'm fine with 7 taking a different route, if not just to shut up whining fans. But one complaint is that it doesn't feel very Resident Evil-like. There's no old characters, zombies, genetically engineered monsters, or laboratories, but apparently the demo they showed of his separate from the game, so we may seem more familiar things. Good lord, dude. Dead Rising 4, but I have to get 3 as quickly as possible and play the shit out of it before 4 comes out. Other than that, no real excitement. I saw a couple of games that I'd like to watch people play, but that's basically it. But I'm excited for Zelda, because finally in a game you can climb almost any surface, at least rock, which gaming has needed for a long time, and maybe this game will set a new standard that will change gaining forever. He said gaining. Dude, it amazes me how people get excited over like the littlest crap, like being able to climb surfaces in Zelda. Like, we've needed that. No, we need good gameplay. Let me move on here. The Undertaker says, "I happen to be good friends of Tuned Inside. He just recently made a gaming channel called Gaming Runners TV, and I happen to be a good friend of his on Facebook. We were thinking of contacting each other on Skype to do commentary and gameplay videos with him. He truly is a nice guy, even though a lot of trolls have to harass him over the silly McJuggernuggets thing. Sometimes I think people take YouTube very seriously when it's supposed to be about being creative and having fun. Wouldn't you agree, Necro? Well, good luck trying to get him on Skype. I've tried to get Tuned and Signed on Skype, and the guy never... I mean, he added me, but he never answers me, so good luck with that. Carl K9 Lionheart Meaner says, the Skyrim upgrade does look amazing. I kind of wish they would do something similar for Morrowind and Oblivion. I know there are third-party overhauls for these games, but it would be nice to see something officially from Bethesda. I do agree on that, especially for Morrowind. EIDXOF says, so you also bought Skyrim 2 times. Sick. Sony had the best presentation, and Bethesda did great. I wholeheartedly agree. Real men listen to Potato Cast. Yeah, I bought Skyrim initially on Xbox 360, and then I bought the PC version, and I was prepared to buy it a third time, but it looks like I won't have to. And finally, BioPhoenix says, just wondering, have you played an SMT game before? I think you would like some of the older titles. LOL, Skyward Cock. Gotta love people who say game sucks when they have not played it. What makes you think I haven't played it? That's interesting. That's interesting. Just because I don't have the system doesn't mean I haven't played the game. All right. And Skyward Sword, it's not awful. It's just... I was actually just having a discussion about Skyward Sword on Facebook, and this actually keys into the main thing that I want to talk about. I did want to talk about Mighty Number 9. This is a game that I've looked forward to for a really, really long time. Way longer than it should have been, because it was delayed so many times that I do have it. I have not yet actually played it because I want to Let's Play it, and I want to do like a blind Let's Play of it. So I'm kind of trying to wrap up the Let's Play that I'm working on right now, which is Breath of Fire 3, before I start in on Mighty Number 9. But, you know, Tanya had posted something on Facebook about how Mighty Number 9's reviews were kind of mediocre. Nobody's really saying it's a bad game, but they're saying that it's a letdown. It's not the amazing action game that it should have been. IGN gave it something like a 5.6. And somebody else said, you know, well, you can't really trust IGN because they gave Skyward Sword a 10. And Skyward Sword is definitely not a 10. Or, no, they gave it, I'm sorry. I'm fucking this up. They gave it a 9.8, and it's not a 9.8. And then a few people were saying, yeah, it's not a 9.8, it's a 10. And I had to come in and I say, look, let's be honest. Skyward Sword, if you were to rate it out of 10, it's a 7. It's a good game. It's just, when you frame it against all the other Zelda games, it's not a good Zelda game. It's just an above average, you know, action RPG. And I think that's the problem that we're looking at with Mighty Number 9, is that almost anybody is saying that, well, not almost anybody, but a lot of people are saying that, yes, it plays well, it's a pretty good game, but when you frame it against Mega Man, and that's the problem, is that they marketed this from the very beginning, before they started development, when it was a concept on Kickstarter, they marketed it as the spiritual successor to Mega Man. And the narrative that was told was, we have Keiji Inafune, who has been in the video game industry for a very long time, and he was one of the people that had a hand in creating Mega Man. There was no one single person that created Mega Man. He really was created by multiple people. Keiji Inafune was one of them, because he came up with the visual, from what I understand, for Mega Man. The design, the look of what Mega Man is. And he also designed a lot of the Robot Masters, especially from what I understand in the first game. He did game design for Breath of Fire and a bunch of other Capcom games. But the narrative that we've been taught is that Capcom have become so focused on money and not so much focused on game development. And Keiji Inafune left them because he felt that they were just made up of salarymen who were going there to, you know, basically punch in and work and then leave, and that they had no passion. They didn't share the passion that he had, and that he wanted to take the Mega Man series in a very daring direction, a very, I think, or at least the way that it was portrayed as, a very ambitious direction, which eventually became the spin-off series Mega Man Zero on Game Boy Advance. But from my understanding, that's the direction he wanted to take it. And he pretty much had, in the very late 90s and throughout the 2000s, took over the Mega Man series. He was producing most of those games. And we always hear these stories of how Capcom defied him, or that how he defied Capcom, and framed in a sense that, he was right and that they were wrong. The example being that he wanted to end Mega Man X after Mega Man X5. And if you played Mega Man X5, which is one of my favorites, it definitely has this feeling of this is the last one. And then Mega Man X6 came out something like 6 months later. It was really very quickly turned out. And I don't think it was a bad game, but it was not as good as 4 and 5 on the PlayStation. And a lot of people felt that it was like Mega Man X5 with just some new levels, and that it was turned out for money, and that Inafune had condemned it and said that they basically went ahead without his permission. And, so he leaves Capcom and he goes off and he creates this company, Concept, which even kind of sounds like Capcom. And Concept, they go on Kickstarter and he asks for $900,000 for Mighty Number 9. And I just want to take everybody back to that moment in time when we found out about the Mighty Number 9 Kickstarter, and how the excitement of it, the enthusiasm that people had, and everybody's imaginations may have gotten the best of them. And now the game comes out, and the resounding cry of, it's okay. I haven't personally played it yet, so I'm not giving my opinion. It does look fun to me. Some people complain about the graphics. Personally, I couldn't care less about it looking sort of like maybe a mid-era PS2 game. I mean, despite the fact that $4 million went into it through Kickstarter, it's still an indie game. And I want to point out also, and I was talking to Tanya about this as well, is that if you wonder, where did $4 million go? This game is being released on 11 platforms. Let me see if I can name them all. PC, that's Windows, Mac, Linux, the NVIDIA Shield, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, PS Vita, Wii U, and 3DS. That's 11 consoles. So when you're working on basically a base game for Windows and then 10 ports, all of a sudden that $4 million is divided up quite a bit. And also I think mistakes were made. I think that a lot of the money from Kickstarter went into a deal for an animated series. A lot of the money from Kickstarter went into marketing. A lot of the money from Kickstarter went into perhaps even other projects like Red Ash. And I think that, like I said, there were a lot of mistakes that were made with Mighty Number 9. I'm not going to condemn the game by any means, especially having not played it yet. But I will say that it looks like they definitely got ahead of themselves. They started talking about movie deals and animated shows and everything before the game was finished. The whole Red Ash thing being the spiritual successor to Mega Man Legends, especially since the last game that Inafune worked on when he was at Capcom was Mega Man Legends 3, which Capcom canceled shortly after he left. And putting out the Kickstarter for Red Ash before Mighty Number 9 was released, or before it was even finished at that point, a lot of people were soured by that. I wasn't soured by that, but I did not feel the urge to donate to the Red Ash Kickstarter because I felt that it was ill-timed. I do think that the initial timing of the Mighty Number 9 Kickstarter was almost serendipitous. It hit us at the right time because this was shortly after Mega Man had been canceled. I mean, Mega Man Legends 3. I mean, Mega Man Universe. I mean, every Mega Man project that was in existence. And Capcom was trying their best to deny that Mega Man had any fans and that anybody wanted it, even though everybody was begging for it. One example was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The original release had a 0 in it, I think. And when they were working on what was originally supposed to be DLC, but wound up becoming Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they asked people in a poll on their website, what character do you most want to see in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? And the winner of the poll, the number one choice, was Mega Man X. And Mega Man X did not make it into the game. The closest they could do was they gave Zero a costume that made him look like Mega Man X. But they said the reason that they did not include Mega Man X was he didn't have enough votes, which is funny because he had more votes than any other character on a poll that they had created and was on their own website, the Capcom Unity website. So that's just kind of like, their thinking is very hard to understand. So that had happened. And even just getting Mega Man into a fighting game, because people wanted Mega Man in a fighting game for a while. I mean, he was in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. People wanted him in 3, and it just, like, all we got was 0. They announced that they were going to put Mega Man in certain versions of, what was it, Tekken Cross Street Fighter. And it wound up being, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And it wound up being, like, fat, Jack Black looking, bad box art Mega Man, and people were offended by that. So it seemed like, here we have a company that just doesn't care about this character that we all love growing up, and we all want more games, and then this guy who bills himself as the creator, and like I said, he wasn't the only creator of Mega Man, he had a hand in it, is saying, I'm going to make a game similar to Mega Man. I'm going to make it, and it's going to be the spiritual successor. And all I ask for is for you to kickstart me. And people did it. And it went way overboard. But I think that, even just doing the stretch goals, of, this console and that, it's on too many consoles. And that I think, is why everything was spread so thin. And another thing that I mentioned when I was speaking to Tanya about this is the timing of it was good then. But then when you look at all the delays, and by the way, there still are delays because the Xbox 360 version hasn't come out yet. That's being delayed. And I'm thinking, but how many people are playing it on Xbox 360? Now, thankfully, they didn't have the backers choose the platform that they were going to get their codes on until last month. So, and then anybody who didn't fill out the survey would just get the PC version. I kind of think that there probably wasn't a lot of people who chose Xbox 360. And that may be why that version got delayed and may even be canceled. It could be like Mortal Kombat X in a way. Back when it came out, we were looking at PC, we were looking at the Vita, we were looking at PS3, we were looking at Xbox 360. And then with all the delays and everything, all of a sudden we're in another generation. So that's a thing that, I think hurt the legacy of Mighty Number 9. Another thing that I think harmed it was having Deep Silver publish it, because once you have a publisher, it's like, are you still an indie game or not? It was funded independently, it was crowdfunded, it was developed independently, but then Deep Silver comes at us with a very kitschy trailer that, I had to put on mute after a few seconds because I'm like, who is this announcer that thinks he's Deadpool? Because that seemed to be what they were going for on that. And eventually I was just like, all right, the game looks good, but what the fuck is this trailer? And a lot of people were upset by that. And it seemed like by the time Mighty Number 9 came out, there were a lot of people that were ready to hate it. It started with controversy in the forums a couple of years ago because the woman who was hired to run the community had never played a Mega Man game, and people were offended by that, and all of a sudden it became one of those feminists versus MRA routines, and I just hate that so much because I'm like, you don't have to be a gamer to run a forum, it's kind of silly. But then there was people feed into this crap because then they start slinging hate, and that gets removed because who needs that sitting around on a forum? And then they're saying, oh, they're censoring any dissenting opinions, and it becomes one of those situations. And I think that by the time Mighty Number 9 came out, there were more people that were wanting to hate it than wanting to enjoy it, and that's sad to me. That being said, I haven't played it. I will play it soon. Once I'm done with Breath of Fire 3, I am going to start playing it and recording myself playing it. You guys won't see the videos for my Mighty Number 9 playthrough for quite some time. Months, a couple of months at least. Probably more like 4 months. That's usually the lead-in time on Let's Plays. But I will talk about it on PotatoCast. But this brings me to another thing. See, Mighty Number 9, I put $20 into the Kickstarter, and that was enough to get the game and to have a say, to have votes and, designs and things like that. But I gotta say that I did put $60 into Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Because as much as I love Mega Man, I love Castlevania even more. And Koji Igarashi escaped the pachinko mines along with Hideo Kojima. He left Konami and he created Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is heavily based on the Castlevania games that he had a hand in. He's not a creator of Castlevania. He came, I think the first one he worked on was Symphony of the Night. But he created the popular Metroidvania style. Oh, by the way, actually, back to Mighty Number 9 for a second. I think that we look at Inafune a little differently now. I mean, especially his reaction to the mediocre reviews. He said, well, the game is better than nothing. I mean, I think that he should have said, well, I'm sorry if there are people who don't like it as much as they can, and we'll try better. But instead he said, well, it's better than nothing. And there was a guy, I forgot his name, but he works for Platinum Games, and Platinum Games had developed some games for Capcom, such as Beautiful Joe. And he was asked on Twitter what he thinks of Keiji Inafune, and he said that the man is not a game developer, he's a businessman. And a lot of people are starting to think that that may be correct. Now, Koji Igarashi, I gotta tell you, after I played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night E3 demo last night, and I gotta say, this guy's a game developer. This game is shaping up to be absolutely fantastic. And I still think that Mighty Number 9 is incredibly important, even if the game is only like a 6 out of 10 or whatever. And like I said, that's not my opinion. That's just kind of what people are saying. I'll let you know my opinion after I play it. But even if it is just kind of okay, I think that it's incredibly important because it did open the floodgates, not just for what's going on over there? Not just for Kickstarter games, because that was nothing new, but it opened up the floodgates for people who had a hand in series that we love that are kind of dormant, continuing these series in other ways. And Bloodstained is part of that. Mighty Number 9 is part of that. Yooka-Laylee is part of that. And we've seen a few other Kickstarters of similar things. Or even like actually continuing series that have been dormant, like Shenmue 3. But I gotta say that, Bloodstained is fantastic. I mean, it's so Castlevania. It's more Castlevania than Castlevania is. And playing through it, and the demo, well, let's see, I made a video of it, which you guys are going to be seeing in the morning when I upload it. But the video I made, I just want to look at how long. I did kind of take my time with it. I didn't want to rush through it. I wanted to enjoy it, and I want to find all the, and I probably will play through it a few more times, but it lasted about 20 minutes, and I gotta say, it looks and feels like a Castlevania game. The level is on a ship. It reminded me strongly of the ship level of Castlevania Rondo of Blood on the TurboGrafx. The heroine in it reminds me of Shinoa from Order of Ecclesia. And after getting a few shards, which are, after you defeat an enemy, these shards will penetrate you and you'll get these new abilities. And it kind of works a little bit like a mixture of the glyphs in Order of Ecclesia and the souls in Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow. But definitely the feel that I got from it is this is Order of Ecclesia Part 2. It's just not Castlevania. It's not owned by Konami. It's completely independent, but everything about it feels Castlevania-esque. There were a few bugs, nothing major. As a matter of fact, when they sent out the codes for anybody who donated $60 or more to Bloodstained to play the E3 demo, they said that there were a few bugs that they're already aware of, and they listed them. So, I did experience a little bit of that. But the game is fantastic. The controls are very tight. The visuals of it are fantastic. I did enjoy the music. I think that they're off to a great start, an absolutely fantastic start. And I hope that I hope that it continues. I mean, I hope that it doesn't get soured. I mean, like, I remember when Mighty Number 9 first became playable, and I didn't pay enough into it to get demos, but I remember watching videos on YouTube of people playing, early demos of Mighty Number 9, and it just, the praise and the feedback was all 100% positive. And like I said, part of it is people were soured along the way by delays, they were soured by controversy, and they were soured by drama, and I think that there are a lot of people who don't want to like the game. They'll tell you that they want to like the game, but they're lying to you and they're lying to themselves. Mighty Number 9 is a game that I really want to like, and I have a feeling that I will like it. I'll let you know my opinion when I play it, but I can tell you Bloodstained is fucking fantastic so far. I've played one level which had about 4 or 5 different types of enemies. It had a boss at the end. There was some exploration. I don't know if it's supposed to be the first level of the game or if it's just what they gave us, but I gotta tell you, this game is shaping up great. I love the animations. I love the way the character moves. But definitely the feel and the aesthetic of it is a lot like Order of Ecclesia. If you played Castlevania Order of Ecclesia on the DS, this is going to be very familiar. Very familiar. And I have a feeling that there was a thread that was left off, because the last Castlevania game that Koji Igarashi worked on was Order of Ecclesia, because after that, it was Lords of Shadows, Mirror of Fate, and Lords of Shadows 2, which were all made by Mercury Steam in Spain. And the Japanese branch of Konami, the only Castlevanias they were interested in making on were erotic pachinko games, That's why, when people get out of Konami, like Koji Igarashi did, or like Hideo Kojima did, I say they escaped the pachinko mines. Hideo Kojima has his own game. He's working with Sony. I hope he's happy. Koji Igarashi decided to go indie. He decided to take the same route that Keiji Inafune did with Mighty Number 9. I just think that, people are saying that when they play Mighty Number 9, that they don't think it's a bad game, but they don't feel the passion. I don't know. I'll tell you. But I can tell you right now, just playing one little level of Bloodstained, I feel the passion. Surprisingly, a lot of the same Castlevania tricks worked. Like, I was doing things like the jump forward, dash back. I was doing things like attacking twice rapidly by jump attack, fall right before you hit the ground, and then another attack. It just feels like a natural continuation of the series, but at the same time, it feels a little different. Like, you can tell it's not Castlevania. The music is a little bit more atmospheric than Castlevania. The feel of the flow of the level, you can tell that it was inspired by Castlevania, but it's not necessarily a Metroidvania as of yet. It might become one. It's hard to tell. I know he calls it an Igavania, which I think is cute. But I gotta tell you, if you were at all involved in the Kickstarter for Bloodstained, I can tell you it's turning out great so far. This game, I think, is going to be huge. It's going to be huge for me because I'm the biggest Castlevania fan I know. I don't know anybody who's a bigger Castlevania fan than me. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Castlevania fan there is, but I'm the biggest Castlevania fan that I know. One last thing to talk about before I sign off here. I did say I didn't have much to talk about, so I'm sorry for the shorter episode. Perhaps next week I'll have more to talk about. But yeah, just Mighty Number 9 and Bloodstained are what's on my mind right now. But one thing that I wanted to talk about, just very briefly, is I did mention last week about the Steam Summer Sale, and that is now in full effect. And so if you're a PC gamer, you might want to check out Steam because it's already just going crazy. This year they're calling it the Summer Picnic Sale, which is going to go until, let's see, I'm looking at Steam right now, July 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So there you go. I mean, right now they got some great deals. I mean, right now, everything's at least 50% off, it seems. There's some pretty cool deals. Look at that. Stardew Valley is 20% off. I might have to get that for Julie. But just check in on it. That's a big thing. I'm probably going to be buying a bunch of games for myself, a couple of games for friends. But actually, let me know in the comments what games you're picking up in the Steam Summer Sale, if any, and let me know, what you're checking, what you're getting. And I want to mention that Chronicles of a Dark Lord series is going to be on sale. It is already on sale. You can get Chronicles of Dark Lord Episode 1 for 50 cents. You can get Episode 2 for $1. Rhapsody Clash is 50 cents. Rhapsody Clash, actually, we're working on a remake of Rhapsody Clash because the reviews for Rhapsody Clash were pretty poor. I didn't have a hand in the development. Tanya mostly did that. But she was like, she owned up to it, and she said, you know what, we're going to remake the game, and anybody who bought it is going to get the new version for free. So, there is that. But, I just wanted to tell you guys that the Steam sale is going on. And I'll mention that Episode 1 and 2 are on sale, and Rhapsody Clash is also on sale. I didn't have a hand in that, but it is from Kazura Studios. The only thing I did was, the logo. But that being said, I don't have much else to talk about. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? If you've played Mighty Number 9, let me know what you think of it. If you played the Bloodstained demo, let me know what you think of it. And let me know what other Kickstarter projects have you donated to, and what are you looking forward to, and what do you think of the future of this now that Mighty Number 9 is out, and its success can best be described as mild. Do you think that sours the whole idea of kickstarting games? Or do you think that it's still going to be a big thing? Personally, I think it's still going to be a huge thing. So anyway, let me know in the comments. Leave me your questions and comments. I'll get to them next week. VMX out.